People who got caught having sex at work. What happened? My friend caught maintenance man and his wife having sex in the break room. He never said anything. They were a married couple but both employees. They got caught screwing at the Christmas party. Nothing happened for a few weeks. Then they both got fired because they were collecting the gym membership stipend but couldn't show proof of attendance. Pretty sure that was the first and only time the company enforced the stipend rule. There was a girl who had sex with some employees for pay. When caught, they transferred her to another building and took some minor disciplinary action against all involved. Then she did it again at the new building, so they transferred her back. Couple years had passed, so no old clients in her area. Then she did it again. Third time was the final straw to get her fired. This was back in 2013. I was in the US Army working as a supply specialist, so I had keys to everything. Female co-worker and I would frock everywhere. Storage rooms, offices, empty barracks rooms. Went on for months. One day our platoon sergeant pull us aside and tells us he knows what's been going on. Says he saw us in one of our large warehouse areas. He said as long as it never happened again, he wouldn't make a big deal of it. He kept his word. Good dude. At my old job in a sheet metal factory, we caught two elderly employees having sex in the back of his Suburban. We'd long suspected it because they went from being extremely close to kinda trying not to be seen talking that much. Also because it was a job that had unlimited OT. They'd both show up at the same time and leave at the same time even though we didn't have set hours. It was wild because both his son and her sons worked for the same company. His wife would show up and bring food for the whole staff in our department too, and you could see the mistress's guilt whenever his wife was there because she'd always leave. After we caught them, we kept our mouths shut about it, but they both starting being really nice to us all. The woman would bring us all lunch every day. I didn't know I couldn't do that. Nothing. They said sorry and closed the walk-in door. Restaurants are a weird and wacky world. Back in 2010, my high school basketball coach got caught having sex with a very pregnant teacher in the hospitality room of the school. I mean very pregnant lol. And both of them were married. Very sad. Haha. I work in our government office. Our boss got caught having sex with his private secretary. Boss stepped down and PS suspended for 6 months. Boss was caught screwing 5 different women at the hotel I worked at. He was fired, with a long investigation. Sure explained why the dude was always late leaving. Had to catch up for how much frocking he did. I was caught by my boss's boss. Going at it with my boss. He threw his binder down on the ground to get our attention. Then he left and we broke apart. Then just finished the shift. I was so sure we were both going to get fired. I was a nervous wreck the whole day. In the end, he decided to not tell anyone and not to fire us. He just asked me if it was consensual, which it was, and lectured me on how inappropriate that was. Obviously I agree. He also said he wished us a happy relationship lol. Scariest and most awkward day at work of my life. Never again. I see the supervisors sometimes and I know it's obviously something we'll both never forget. I used to work at the county jail and we hired a new officer that worked the cage. The cage control room is semi-private and has control of unlocking doors so no one can walk in without the cage operator pushing a button. She was in an open marriage and put out for just about anyone. She got caught when 8 officers got the clap, a few spouses who got the clap from their cheating husbands, complained to the sheriff and she was fired. Demotions, suspension and firings of other male officers followed after an internal investigation. Not me. But my ex-boss snorted coke in our bathroom before sucking off a customer in our parking lot. Came back in and boasted to us that she got free weed from this guy. A week later, fired. She's still engaged to her fiancé, not the customer. Got caught by my brother plowing a coworker in the back of our family-owned restaurant. He played it cool for a few years until we were talking about it at lunch and I casually mentioned I know he caught us. That was the day I found out he was doing the same thing with the same girl. Edit. Jesus Christ guys, it wasn't my sister. It was my brother's sister. I never have. But I can tell you that entire company-wide design decisions have been made for Amazon fulfillment centers to help curb such actions. For example, all janitor closets are required to have half-glass doors. My math teacher, M, got caught having sex with my English teacher, F, on the school printer in the conference room. He got the name, Printer Frocker. Edit. The German word for printer is Drucker, so the name, Drucker Ficker, sounds a lot better in my native language. I plant trees for a living and hire over 30 20-somethings and send them into remote areas for days at a time. Often I set up trail cameras to track progress and get cool time-lapse shots and also wildlife pics. On more than a few occasions I've seen photos of staff walking off together and one glorious blowthrob shot perfectly framed. I delete the photos and don't make a big deal of it. If it doesn't impact their tree numbers I just consider them on break. Most of the time they are paid per tree planted so it's up to them how much time they want to plant versus frock. Worked retail in college. We were in the stockroom. Clothes mostly still on. When the shift manager came in, had her up against some fitted shirts. Me and her were written up and sent home. They interviewed us separately the next day. We lied about not having a relationship so they wouldn't transfer one of us. Looking back, I'm actually pretty surprised we weren't fired. Not me. But 2 co-workers at a small family restaurant got caught having sex in the bathroom when the owner literally opened the door on them because they didn't lock it. The girl was bent over the sink and they were watching themselves in the mirror. He slammed the door shut. And when they came out a few minutes later, panicky and shame-faced, he yelled at them, "If you're gonna do that, you clock out first." While the rest of us laughed our asses off. Co-worker and manager got caught. He got transferred and she started hitting on me, and everyone else. It was awkward, but they were both adults. Not necessarily on duty but at work. Used to work on cruise ships and crew occasionally get cabin inspections. My GF, coworker and I were doing the deed in the morning when we hear a knock and the phrase, "cabin inspection," in an authoritative British accent which we knew was the ship's captain. I managed to grab all my clothes and run to the restroom. My GF straightened out the room and managed to stall the captain and prevent him from checking the bathroom. She told me that I forgot the used condoms on the floor and she managed to step on them to hide them with her bare feet. I owed her big time. I used to work in fast food. And a manager got caught having sex with an employee. They were going to just transfer him. But they realized that the employee was 17. Manager was 24. So he was fired. The employee quit because they thought it would keep the manager from being fired. I quit a few weeks later for unrelated reasons. Edit. Half the comments are asking if we worked at the same place. 1. It is scary how many places this has happened. 2. I worked at a Taco Bell. They started dating immediately after and now they're moving in together. The boss gave no frocks about it either. Lol. Got caught going at it in the toilets at a work party with my coworker. Luckily whoever it was saved us the embarrassment and just knocked on the door loudly. We straightened up and left. Carried on drinking. Toilet was in this tucked away corner so the party couldn't see us leaving and no one was outside when we left. Nothing ever happened of it thankfully. Very fun though. 10 out of 10. Would do again. I worked retail loss prevention. Catching other employees became pretty normal event. Here's the thing. Most retailers put twice as many cameras in employee areas as they do customer areas. If it was between employees they would get a verbal warning, sometimes a written. Managers and employees would cause one to get transferred, usually the manager. Employees and a non-employee in an employee-only area was either a written or final warning given. I can't think of anything crazy except when I first caught someone other LPs were just mad. After a while it became a normal thing. I worked at Whole Foods. A man and wife worked together and the wife was 6+ months pregnant. One day the wife goes out to their shared car during a lunch break and lo and behold inside their car her husband is just banging away with another WF employee. Someone much younger. I've never seen the entire store come together like a family as they did that day in support of the pregnant wife. Edit. The husband and wife stayed together, against everyone's advice, and the young lady he cheated with quit work. Worked for federal government. They got caught in the act in the stairwell. He got lucky his job was permanent, otherwise he would have lost his managerial position. It was made clear to him that he won't be getting promoted out of it for as long as his boss is his boss. So he is stuck. Still nice job at just under 100K a year. She got a slap on the hand. And got a permanent position a few months later. Helped that she was a union rep. Honestly the only thing that changed was his weight. He was always built. And after he just gave up, got pretty chubby. Not fat. At least not last I've seen him. Wife is a teacher. I visited her classroom after hours and we banged in the actual broom closet like something off a crappy sitcom. Of course someone did walk in. Said, "Ops," and left and I almost lost my sit and erection. But wife was like, "Relax. Half the staff are frocking each other and I've caught a few in here myself before." It was difficult to finish. Nothing. I'm the boss and own the place. I only have 6 with my husband at work though. Who is my business partner? We froze and didn't open the door. Not me. But I worked for a large insurance company briefly and our married communications rep was caught having sex with a 23-year-old intern by our boss on my desk. Neither one got fired. In fact, the rep left his wife, got promoted a few years later and married the intern. It's funny that people get canned for real trivial shit, but things like being balls deep into an intern, committing adultery and doing it in on someone's desk in the office is totally cool. Worked at a restaurant. Seemed like everyone but me was frocking in the cooler. People were frequently caught, but nobody really got in trouble. Few years later, worked in a call center for a financial company. We had a big meeting room on the top floor of the building we'd use every month or so for bigger meetings. A couple people I didn't really care for had sex up there. Got caught and fired. There was security camera footage and management had to watch it from what I heard. Needed to identify who the people were for security. And I just remember it being very awkward for everyone involved. Like, at least do it someplace discreet FFS. Someone I don't know got caught, but now every new group of trainees gets special instructions. 6 at work is allowed, but we have to clock out first. That's it. I find it so funny that they're like, yeah, whatever, frock if you want, but I won't pay you for it. College job in an office. Janitor walked in on me and another intern furiously banging it out with zero remorse in an empty conference room. Only repercussion is that now I get to marry her in a month. Caught a coworker jacking it and watching Pornhub on his phone in the delivery van he drives. His window was half down so he didn't see me approaching. I backed away and then started slowly coming up to him while being loud from a distance to give him time to put himself back together before I had to go up and talk to him. Did not mention what I saw, but he still had Pornhub open on the phone attached to his dash. I will never sneak up on the guy when he's sitting in his van again. This whole thread just made me realize how boring my life is. A guy that worked for me impregnated one of the cleaning women from our building, who then had twins. She was a foreign nationalist and he had a clearance where this was a no-no. Oh. And he had just gotten married to someone else. I actually got to say the line from Seinfeld where I said, "So it has come to my attention that you had 6 with the cleaning woman in our office." I worked at a vineyard winery. There was a big party every Saturday and I took a girl out into the vines to have 6 with her under the stars. As we were walking out of the vines, I see the owner going in with a girl. He told my chick how great I was with the plants and I said I learned everything from him. He said, even my favorite spot to take a beautiful woman. Next time he saw me getting cozy with a girl at a party, he told me to use an even numbered row and he'd stick to the odd numbers. This has happened twice at my job in the 5 years I've worked there. 1. 2 team leads were caught in a mop closet performing oral. They each got suspended 1 day. 1. 2 operators caught in the act. She was let go because she was through a temporary agency. He was again suspended 1 day. My female boss got caught solving customer complaints on her knees. By the CEO. We knew she was in her office and suspected what she was doing. But we forgot to alert her that the CEO had arrived. Rumor has it she kept her job because she rode the regional manager regularly. And he pled to get her job saved. She was transferred to a shop that was a 2 hours each way drive from her home. She got married a few weeks before the CEO thing. Very sad. But she was a sit manager. Lied regularly to all of us and customers. Nothing. They told to me just no jerking off in the bathroom. I don't know how someone could actually frock in the workplace. I'd be tweaking out way too hard about getting caught to enjoy it at all. I worked at USPS headquarters. My boss's peer was trying to get pregnant. So her husband would come over at lunch and they'd bang it out in her office. Apparently someone complained because the annual sexual harassment course content changed to include witnessing consensual sexual behavior. A fake she never got in trouble. My guess is that before her, no one had ever complained about consensual sex at the postal service. P.S. She had a healthy baby girl. Why are they all teachers or fast food employees? Felt guilty for having 6 on company time. Made it up the next day. It's a lot less exciting when you work from home. Not work but school. When I was in 5th grade. Yes, you read that right. Someone in our class got caught having 6 with the principal's daughter. By the principal herself. Safe to say that he didn't receive just a little talk, although he wasn't expelled. He moved school. Not my work. But a guy the first was seeing. We were going at it on a conference table at Microsoft. Janitor walked in and shut the door immediately. Nothing happened to him. Dude basically loved at work. Another time. Another dude. We had a quickie in a quiet room at Google. Reads like I have a thing for programmers. Ended up marrying a blue-collar guy. I was chief electrician in a theater that was being rebuilt. The plant room was at the top of the building in the late stages of the fit-out. I went to the plant room and caught 2 handsome electricians, one giving the other a BJ. I'm afraid I just said, "Have fun, lads," and left. Suppose it might have been different if someone straight had caught them. I hope all these comments about animals are a joke. My dad caught one of the office secretaries having 6 with her boyfriend in the storage closet. They probably wouldn't have ever been caught had this closet been directly next to my dad's office. The interaction with my dad wasn't all that interesting, but why ever anyone would think that having 6 in the storage closet of a cattle sales barn is a good idea beyond me. I got fired from my McDonald's job of 3 years for receiving a BJ in the back alley from another worker while on my break when I was 18. Manager just so happened to drive around the shopping complex alley beside the McDonald's and caught us in the act. I'm actually super thankful I got caught and fired, or I would have never actually ended up having the high-paying career I have today. I most likely would have needed up a MC lifer. This is definitely going to get lost in the mix. But when I was in high school I worked at a sandwich shop attached to a grocery store. The manager of the sandwich shop used to manage the grocery store. She was in her mid-20s and was caught having sex with a 17-year-old cashier. When her husband found out, he came into the store with a gun looking for the kid. Thankfully nothing happened. Her husband was put in jail for a short time and then eventually the kid cashier killed himself. The manager received no reparations, she was just transferred to manager of the sandwich shop. Her and her husband are still together and are expecting their second kid. Really sad story. I finished early twice that day. I also used to work in fast food. One of my buddies who worked there had a fling with one of the managers. He always told me they used to get it on in the stationery storeroom, tiny room, inside the manager's office. One of the overnight cashiers walked in to get something and caught them. It was a long time ago, but I don't think anything happened to them because that tiny room had no cameras and it was passed as they were cleaning the stationary storage room together. I won't mention the fast food chain, but many of the managers were sleeping with each other. I believe this was another reason that no disciplinary action was taken. Worked in retail and it was very common for coworkers to hook up. One was well known for putting out, but didn't want her husband to know, so she would take them to her car in the parking lot right after work. She was never reprimanded because it was not on the clock. Second was a young newbie who would have random makeout sessions with another coworker in the aisles during business hours. Eventually they got caught pounding one out in the changing room, which the door was just piece of cut short plywood. Everyone can see what they were doing. They were promptly fired. Our manager gave us the keys to her minivan and told us to get it out of our systems so we could focus on work. We were freshly 20, so pretty much thorny AF teenagers, and had just started dating. Anyway, we went and had sex in her car in the middle of our shifts. We also snuck onto the roof after our shifts another time. We never got in trouble for either. We're almost 30 now and married with 2 kids. A love story for the ages. Reading the comments. I guess, by myself, does not count. We have C-cans where we store tires. I was a technician on my last day. She was a parts person. She's bent over facing the door. I'm behind here. Coveralls unzipped but still on. She just pulled her pants partway down. We sort of heard and were kind if ready, but the parts manager sort of opened the door and told us to hurry up, thinking we were just fumbling tires around on the shelves. No, not totally caught, but still lots of fun. I've never been caught having sex at work, but a coworker, friend of mine told me an interesting story. I am the boss of a small creative studio. She works under me and is a friend outside of work. One day she worked late and her new boyfriend came to bring her dinner. I was there and said hello and then left. The next morning I'm back at work sitting at my desk. She is smiling and I ask her what's going on and she couldn't help herself and blurted out, "We had sex on your desk last night." I asked her if she sprayed it down and she claimed she did. I don't believe her, but I gave her a high five anyhow. My boss was pissed, and it made realize that maybe joining the family business wasn't the right thing for me. I work in a furniture company. One of the receptionists regularly bangs a truck driver in our break room behind the drink machines. There is like an 18-inch gap back there. She told me when people walk in while they're going at it, they just stay really still. Truck driver is married. Ew. In the army, you go to 8 advanced individual training. After basic training to learn how to do your job, apparently. Some frisky soldiers got down and dirty either next to or in the barracks dumpsters. IIRC, they got privileges revoked and reprimanded for it. The company that they belonged to were referred to with elementary schoolyard nicknames like dumpster frockers.